Namaste yogis, welcome to the evening session of Hatha Kriya Yoga. There is a morning session available on my website or on my channel. Come to seated position, adopting Gyan Mudra, the index inside the thumb, palms facing down. You can go ahead and close the eyes. Just take a minute here. Feeling your legs crossed, the spine tall, the shoulders relaxing, the jaw releasing, and the tongue at the back of your mouth. Taking a moment to notice the outside sounds, atmosphere and temperature, the vibrations around you. And then draw your attention back inside. Exhale fully here, and we'll begin. Inhale deeply. Tell yourself you have arrived on your yoga mat. And as you exhale, release. Allow yourself to nestle into this hour, completely designed for you. Inhale fully. You have arrived on your yoga mat. Exhale. I allow myself to fully mesh into my cells, into my breath. Inhaling. I have arrived on my mat. And exhaling, releasing the responsibilities and identities and masks that we carry all day. And we just put it on pause. Have a few more breaths here. Every inhalation is an expansion of the belly. You inflate the belly, lifting. And every time you exhale, you're exhaling through the nose and contracting the belly. The jaw stays relaxed, the tongue rests at the back of the mouth. If you know advanced practices, you may adopt them. But if not, just keep things simple. A few more breaths here. Truly allow yourself to unwind from your day and to connect and bring all the attention inwards, back into the self with a capital S, the cells, the body, the muscles, the organs, the breath. Allow the breathing to become longer and deeper, and perhaps you add a pause between an inhalation and an exhalation. Next inhalation, we'll raise the arms up over our head and hold the breath here. You can adopt Kali Mudra, index pointed to the sky, fingers interlocked. And as you exhale, you'll just forward fold completely over your legs as much as you can. Arms are still stretched. Empty the lungs, release the forehead. As you inhale, rise all the way back up. And as you exhale, release the hands down to the floor. On your next inhalation, you'll raise both arms up to the sky, stretching, and let that exhalation bring down that right arm behind you, and the left arm crosses over your right thigh, back of the hand resting on the knee, twisting as far as you can behind you. Every inhalation grows your spine a little bit taller, and as you exhale, deepen. Inhale, rise back up, and then we'll take it to the other side. Left hand goes behind you and cross over the right hand across your left thigh. Back of the hand rests on the knee, and you twist, shining your heart, growing taller, and allowing the breath to finish the pose. What happens when we exhale and deepen the contraction of our belly button? How far can we twist? Next inhalation, we come back up, arms up overhead. And as you exhale, release your hands down onto the floor, and we'll unwind our legs and meet in a tabletop position. Set up your tabletop where your hands are in alignment with your knees and your feet. Your toes are curled. You're not sagging in your middle back. Your core is engaged. And you're actively pressing your hands into your knees. And as you exhale, you're going to tuck in your chin and bring the pelvis forward. Imagine there's a string from your belly button stretching up to the sky. Keep breathing here, but try to bring the belly button as much as you can towards the spine. A couple more breaths here, pressing deeply into your 10 fingers like you wanted the ground to move away from you. Then as you inhale, flatten the back. Don't arch it, just keep it flat. Engaging the core still. And as you exhale, we'll do that again. Round the spine a lot. Tuck in the chin. Bring the pelvis forward. Belly button to spine. Pressing into your 10 fingers. And then inhale, come back to your tabletop position. Remember where your head is as well. Try to keep your shoulders away from your ears. And then we'll do that again. Exhale, round the spine. Press your 10 fingers into the ground. Press even the toes and try to really get the pelvis forward. More than leaning back, you're leaning forward. Tucking in the chin. Still breathing. And then inhaling. Back to tabletop position. And this time we'll inhale, right leg goes back, parallel to the floor. Align the whole heel, hip, and shoulder in the same line. And then your left arm takes lift off. We're in a tiger preparation here. Watch that you don't collapse into your right shoulder. And having a beautiful diagonal line from your right heel to your left hand. Stretching here. Next exhalation, bring left hand behind, bend right knee, and see if you can't catch that foot. And kick into your hand to open up, pressing deeply into your right hand, the one that's on the floor, to find that stability as you're expansive in the chest and breathing fully here. We'll release gently back into that first position, left arm straight, right arm straight. And then exhale, bend the knee, bring the elbow to the knee towards the belly button, toes don't touch. Hold it here, tuck in the chin. And then we'll inhale and stretch it back out. Right leg straight, left arm straight, and come back into tabletop position. Take a minute here in child's pose. Release the tension, release the jaw. Reset the whole system before we start on the other side. Connecting to your breath, connecting to your 10 fingers. And then we'll go ahead and do that again. Inhale, tabletop. And this time it's the left leg that goes straight back, flex the foot. And the right arm goes straight up next to your ear. And really remember that it's a straight line, heel, hip, shoulder. Try not to collapse into your left shoulder. Don't arch the spine. Engage the core as much as possible. Find length here, and then next exhalation, bring that right arm behind, grab hold of your left foot, and see if you can't just catch the foot. If you can't, that's okay. But if not, give it a try, and then kick and open up. Press into your left hand. You got to trust what's left. What's left is your right knee and your left hand. Finding that expansion. Kicking up towards the sky, keeping the hips in alignment, so don't let that knee come out either. Inhale, back into that first position. Exhale, left knee, right elbow, round the spine, toes don't touch. And then inhale, stretch it back out again. And exhale, come back into your tabletop position. Take a minute here in tabletop, and we'll push back into downward facing dog this time. Maybe your knees are still a little bit bent here. Maybe they can stretch out slowly and progressively. The most important is the spine that stays long, like a slide, like a drop of water could slide from your coccyx all the way down to your head. Your 10 fingers are pressing deeply down into the floor. Your shoulder blades are lifted. Your core is engaged. Your jaw is relaxed, and your head rests. Maybe even gazing between your toes. And pedal out those feet. Harmonize with your breath. Left heel goes down as you exhale, and switch on the inhale. Right heel goes down. Take your time, figure out where it's stuck for you. Is it the hips? Is it the lower back? Is it the back of your hamstrings? Keep pressing into the floor, connecting deeply. And we'll come back into a downward facing dog. Next inhalation, you'll lift up the heels and round the spine a lot. Rivet into a plank position. Engage the core, watch the hips. And we will go back into downward facing dog. And we'll do that a few times. So you're really trying to activate every single vertebra. Inhale, lift up the heels, round the spine, tuck in the chin, push forward, plank position. When you exhale, you draw the belly in, lift the hips up, and you return back. So you're shifting away between hands and your feet, but transitioning through every single vertebra. Again, inhale, lifting up, coming into plank. And then here we'll come down onto our forearms. Watch the hips here. They often like to pop up. So take a minute to really adjust them. Make sure that everything's in the same line, hips and shoulders. And we'll move back into dolphin, actually. So it's like a down dog, but you've got your forearms down. Knees can be bent here, no problem, and a flat back. Make sure the head doesn't touch the floor. Take a few breaths here. You're pressing actively the elbows into the floor as much as possible. And we'll move into a forearm plank again. Make sure the hips are in alignment. With your shoulders, they generally like to pop up a little bit, so you want to keep that in the same alignment, actively pressing, rounding the spine just slightly. It's better that than arching the spine too much. And we'll come all the way down into a Sphinx pose. Sphinx is when your forearms are parallel to each other, elbows underneath the shoulders, or a little bit in front, in fact. But your hips are relaxed, the glutes as well, and your feet are pressing down. You inhale, inflate the belly, and open up the chest. It's almost like you wanted to drag yourself forward with the help of your hands, but you're not. But you're opening up the chest as much as possible, relaxing the back side of your body as much as possible. So it's an expansion of the front. The shoulder blades are pinching behind, and you're bending into pressing into the elbows. Next exhalation, we'll come into plank, and then downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, we'll come back into our full plank, activating every vertebra. And we'll let things cook here just a little bit. Get things nice and warmed up. And then as you exhale, come back into that dolphin. Ooh. Warming up the shoulders, releasing all the tension from a day's work, whether you're working from home or working at an office. It's okay if the heels don't go down in your dolphin. Take a breath here, and then we'll inhale and come back into that forearm plank. It may be that you have to adjust your elbows a little bit. I know I do. And you're actively pushing into your heels here, breathing, and then as you exhale, lower down, and we'll come back into that Sphinx pose. In your Sphinx, see if you can lift up those elbows without contracting the glutes, trying to find relaxation amongst the intensity of stretching the front part of your body. Shoulders don't collapse. Next exhalation, come into downward facing dog. You can go via a plank if you like here. All right. And we'll just take our time here and pedal out the feet. Again, checking in, seeing how things are going in our home base. And then slowly you'll walk your feet towards your hands. One step at a time, matching your breath. So every time you inhale, you're stepping forward. And every time you exhale, you're dropping the heels. It's okay if the knees are still a little bit bent, but you're actively pressing into your hands and trying to understand where the space is in your spine we can release. So we're not in a hurry necessarily to touch the floor. We're just trying to see if we can't push those hips into a different direction. It may be that after 2 steps, you can even keep the hands on the floor, hold your elbows, no problem. We'll meet either way at the top of the mat in Ardha Uttanasana, halfway fold. So from your fold, you'll inhale and place your hands either on your thighs or on your shins. Just try not to place them on your knees, and make sure your back is flat and the chin is tucked in, as if a full glass of water could rest on your back. You're actively pressing weight into your knees, into your toes. Exhale, bend the right knee and stretch the left. Inhale back into Ardha Uttanasana, and same thing on the other side. Just figuring it out, what's going on. These are good for hip stretches. And so here, we're going to take a step back in our forward fold and do it again. So you bend that right knee, but this time you'll lift up the left arm to the sky. So your right hand is a little bit further away. It's on the floor, not like Ardha Uttanasana. Same thing on the other side. So bend the left knee, stretch the right arm up, and actively press into that left hand. And then exhale, bend both knees, relax the head. And let the belly marry with the thighs before you come all the way up, arms stretched in front of you, overhead, and you're in standing position here. Getting ready for our moon salutations, Chandra Namaskar. This is a great practice to do on a full moon. Inhale, arms up, open up the chest. Exhale, forward fold. Relax the head. Inhale, right leg goes back, and the arms come straight up. Press into your left foot. Find lift off here. Some of us may have just a right angle on our knees, and the hips won't go further down than that. Others may be able to, and maybe you can open up the chest. But make sure that left heel is pressing into the ground. You're supporting your right knee with your toes bent, and you're stretching up to the sky. You're not collapsing into the back of your body. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Tuck in the chin, and then inhale into your plank position. And exhale, knees down, chest down, chin down, and keep those elbows close to your body. You'll inhale here into a Sphinx pose. You can go into Cobra. If you're someone who suffers a lot from insomnia or restlessness, try to take down a notch your back bends in the evenings. We'll exhale back into a downward facing dog when we're done. And then here, you will bring your right foot forward. Tuck it into your chest first. Lift the left heel. Use your core to bring that right foot forward. And then drop the right foot between your hands. Drop the left knee. Inhale, belly inflates and the arms lift. Again here, adjust. You can go 90-degree angles in both knees, or you can see if you can't push those hips forward and stretch it out. Make sure that right heel is on the ground and make sure your hips are squared. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. And then here we'll inhale and come all the way up, arms stretched in front of us into a slight back bend if it's accessible for you, and if not, hands in the middle of the heart, no problem. We'll do that again. Inhale up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, left leg goes back. And raise the arms up over your head. Press into that right foot. It's the same breath normally. If you've got deep, long breaths, that's how it should go. If you're taking a few more, it's okay. Exhale, down dog. And then as you inhale, you're going to come into your plank. And then as you exhale, you're going to lower down. In the 8-pointed salute, inhale into your Sphinx pose. And then as you exhale, downward facing dog. Take a minute here. Inhale, left knee into the chest. Shift your weight forward. Bring that left leg with you. Hover, hover. Use the power of your right heel and drop that left foot. Inhale, stretch arms up. Pressing actively into that left heel. Keeping the hips squared. And then as you exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Next inhalation, you'll rise all the way up. Stretch. And exhale. Bring everything into your heart. All right. We'll do a few more like that. With a little add-on. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, right leg back. Lift up the arms. Stretching. And then as you exhale, drop the hands next to your left foot. Extend left foot here. So in a pyramid pose, right heel might not go down, and try to come back in down dog without bending that left leg. A little harder than it looks. Give it some practice. Chaturanga here, going down, knees, chest, chin, Ashtanga Maskasana, coming up to your Sphinx or your Cobra. And then as you exhale, you're coming back into your downward facing dog. Remember to relax the jaw. Inhale, right knee goes forward. And drop that right foot between your hands. Inflate the belly, lift up the arms. Pressing actively into that right foot. And as you exhale, here again, we'll try to extend that right knee as you lift up the left, and we'll meet into a forward bend. So bring that left foot forward, into a forward bend. It's something you can practice, it takes time. Inhale, stretch up, weight in your toes. Exhale, hands in the middle of the chest. And here we go again. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, left leg goes back. Arms come up to the sky, press active into your right foot. As you exhale, drop the hands next to your right foot. Extend right knee and left knee, pyramid pose. Left heel doesn't have to come down onto the ground, and come into your downward facing dog without bending the right knee. All right, inhale into your plank pose. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, Cobra or Sphinx, your choice. You'll notice in the evening a little bit more flexibility than in the mornings, but it calls for a little bit more concentration to coordinate what it is that we're doing. If this is the first time you've ever done it. Exhale, back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, left knee between the hands. Drop that left foot. Raise the arms up as you inhale. And here we go again. Exhale, drop the hands next to the left foot. Extend left knee and right knee. Push back, pyramid pose. Right heel can stay lifted. And we'll step forward, Uttanasana, forward fold. Next inhalation, rise all the way up, stretch the heart. Exhale, hands in the middle of the heart. Cool. And we'll take a minute here to rest. Separate the feet, let the arms loose and long. Connect to your pulse. Breathe in deeply, and then as you inhale, raise your arms up over your head. And take your feet as wide as the mat. When you're stretching up here, we're just going to lower down that left arm and stretch up through the right and pivot towards the left. Find length here, hips open up. And stretch all the way to the left side. No weight on that lower arm whatsoever. Inhale, come back up, and we'll switch. Arm up, left arm up this time, and we'll exhale to the right. Make sure there's no weight on that lower arm. Pressing into the hips, legs are straight, and the power also comes from your feet. Cool. Inhale all the way up. Both arms up. And here we'll interlock the fingers. This is an energy releasing kriya. You'll lift up the heels on your tippy toes, stretching up as high as you can. And then as you exhale, we'll slowly lower down those heels, keeping the arms where they are. The feet are still wide. You can have a little check. Make sure the feet are parallel. And then we'll exhale halfway down, flat back, tuck in the chin, stare directly on the floor in front of you. You're actively pushing into your fingers, and we'll exhale, pivot to the right like it was 3:15, like we're needles of a watch. Both legs are straight, weight is in the toes. Inhale, back to 12 o'clock, back to center. And as you exhale, we'll do the same thing on the other side to 9:15, 9:45. So you'll pivot to the left as much as you can. Then we'll inhale back to center. And then as you exhale, release everything to the floor. Relax the head as well. Maybe you bend the knees, no problem, and see how close your hands are to the floor. If it's accessible for you to touch the floor with your hands, try to walk onto your feet. You may need to bend the knees a lot in order to do this. Make sure you're walking all the way up to the lines of your wrists. You're not just doing the tips of your fingers here. And then we'll switch knees again. So we're extending one knee and stretching the other, trying to figure out what's going on. Where is the tension? Is it in the hips? Is it the back of the legs? Is it in the waist or in the glutes? And then maybe you can extend both legs if you're a little bit more advanced, pressing actively the toes into your hands. So it's like the hands wanted to escape, but the toes are pressing in. And then we'll inhale and release all of that. Come into Ardha Uttanasana, halfway fold, and then stretch back up. First balancing pose here, chair pose, that will turn to figure 4. So you come into your chair pose, feet slightly wide, generally about the same width as your hips. Now, you may be from another school where you put them together. And we'll just bring up that right foot and bend it so it's resting on the top of that left thigh. Foot is active. And just pressing down that right hand into your thigh to find that opening, that stretch, and inviting the knee to open up the hips. You can stay here, stretching through that left arm to the sky. That's option 1. Option 2, you bring your hands together in prayer, and we'll see if we can't twist. So you're placing that right elbow on the sole of your foot and trying to twist all the way up to the sky. Inhale, come back up to center, find that balance, find that grace, and then cross over into chair pose, into eagle pose, Garudasana. You may be able to twist that foot behind your calf. Maybe it's not in your practice, that's okay. No problem, stretching up the arms. If you want to add the arms, you can. I'm not doing it here, but that's your choice. And bend the knees again, come back into chair pose. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you're gonna bring that left foot now to cross over the right thigh, open up the knee. The toes are active, so it's really just the ankle that's at the tip, the end of your quadricep, right before the knee. Let that left hand then go down, and right arm stretches up to the sky. So we're on the opposite side here, actively stretching through the whole body, opening up the hips and balancing. Some of us may go further. Option 2, you twist. So it'll be that left elbow that crosses over into prayer position. Either way, we come back out here and we'll slide into Garudasana, let that foot slide over to the opposite side. First option with the big toe resting, or you can flip that foot behind your calf. Either way, we're pressing deeply, squeezing deeply into our chair pose. Inhale, release into chair. And then here, as you exhale, you'll come into a forward fold. Release the head, the spine, knees bent or straight, your call. And we'll interlock our fingers here behind our back. Make sure the belly is completely mirrored to your thighs. So that's what's going to determine the extension of your legs. And then next inhalation, let the hands come up over your head as far as they can, stretching that whole lower spine as much as possible. Breathe fully here, press into your feet, think about your fingers, and then we'll release. Inhaling and exhaling. Next inhalation, left leg goes back. Inhale, arms back up, just like we did earlier in our Chandra Namaskar. And this time, hands in the middle of the heart. We'll twist again. So you'll come over onto the right side of your thigh, left elbow on the outside of your right foot, Angelina Mudra. You can open the arms if you want here or just stay. The key is to actively press in the palm of your hand, pushing the hands down to your hips, and we'll open up the hands like wings. Take a breath here. Look, gazing up maybe at your right hand. All right. Either way, arms open or together, but next level here is we're going to lift up that left knee and see if we can balance into a twisted runner's lunge, where that leg is straight behind, and maybe you open up your arms as well, like wings, and you're twisting as far behind you as you can, gazing through your right thumb. Inhale, back into crescent lunge, so arms up over your head, left knee is lifted, right knee is bent, hips are squared, and as you exhale, drop the hands onto the floor. And maybe you scooch that left foot forward a little bit, and we'll extend that right knee, pyramid pose again. Maybe you hover the fingers and your back is flat, maybe you don't touch just yet. You can place your hands on your foot, just don't put any added stress onto your knee. Don't collapse onto your leg by pressing your hands into your shin or your knee. Your hands may be also touching the floor for some of us. Just make sure the hips are square, the back is flat. And then as you exhale, you release the head as well. Still trying to maintain that length in your whole spine. Some of us may even walk our hands past our toes, depends on how we are. Evenings, we're more flexible, so you can give it a try and then use your breath to finish the posture. How the exhale allows you to go deeper. Inhale gives you the strength to continue, and the exhalation to surrender. And we'll walk back those hands next to our right foot. Bend the right knee if you need to. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Some of us may do this with a straight right leg. And maybe we even go all the way up with that straight right leg into a three-legged downward facing dog. In our three-legged downward facing dog, we're going to inhale here and shift forward into our plank position with our right leg lifted or lowered, you call. We'll go all the way down onto the floor and come back into a Sphinx pose. So again, we're taking it easy on those back bends. If you really feel like you need it, up dog or cobra, go for it. The idea is that you come out of this feeling a lot more zen and disconnected from the outside world than stimulated and dynamic like a morning practice. So you're still in Sphinx, you're inflating the belly, shoulders are back, engaging to your 10 fingers, and then as you exhale, we'll come back into a downward facing dog. In our downward facing dog, feel the evolution of the pose. Feel that there's more weight coming into your feet than into your hands. The tailbone is pointed up to the sky. And you're feeling your ears alongside your biceps, grounding through your 10 fingers. Next exhalation, bend your knees and jump forward. Empty the lungs. Inhale, halfway lift. Make sure the back is flat. No pressure on the knees here. And the weight is still in the toes. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way back up. Stretch your arms up over your head, and as you exhale, bring your hands back into your heart. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Getting ready, set your feet up. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. And the next inhalation, your right leg will go back this time. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Anjalina asana. Pressing through your left foot, feeling as if you're about to rip the mat apart. And here we'll exhale, we'll twist. Right elbow on the outside of your left thigh. Set yourself up here with a twist, Anjalina Mudra. And same thing here. You can either stay there, lift up that back right knee, and maybe open up your wings, gazing up to your left thumb to the sky. Inhale fully here, pressing actively through that right foot, all the way to the crown of your head. Feeling lengthen as you inhale, maybe you go a little bit further and you open up that twist, lifting up the torso, and still twisting through and gazing through the back of your right thumb. Inhale into your crescent lunge. Arms forward, chest forward. And as you exhale, lower down your hands next to your left foot. Scooch that right foot slightly forward. Pyramid pose here again. Straighten out that left leg. Back is flat. Make sure your hips are squared. Equal pressure on both your feet. And some of us may go a little bit further down. Dropping our hands. Just make sure again there's no weight in that knee. Maybe you touch the floor. Maybe you're using blocks. And just find that length really pushing through the back of your right heel all the way to the crown of your head. Some of us will walk our hands further forward again here and try and see what's going on, finding length and stretch and space in our spine, still actively pressing through our left foot and making sure we're not rounding the spine. So look past your toes. It will help quite a lot. Take a breath here. Let things simmer. Deep and stretch. Every inhalation gives us the courage to continue. Exhalation, we discharge all that tension and stress. And again, in the next inhalation, we'll bring back that left leg. Some of us will do it straight all the way up to the sky. Maybe you're doing 2 or 3 steps. Left leg lifted, downward facing dog. And here, we'll slowly move into our plank position and come all the way down onto our bellies. Come into Sphinx pose again. Press deeply into the toes, shoulders back. Inflate the belly as much as you can. And find that stretch in your collarbones. Next exhalation, come back into a downward facing dog. Empty out the lungs completely, relax the jaw. We're getting more and more weight into those heels. The ribs are tightening as you exhale. We often flare our chest, especially if you're hypermobile on the shoulders, so be careful of that. And here we're going to cross our legs and get ready for cow face, Gomukhasana. So your left leg is going to cross over your right and go exactly where your right foot was, and your left foot's where your right foot was. So your legs are completely crossed above the knee in a downward facing dog. And then just bend the knees onto the floor, come into tabletop with crossed legs. Try to scooch out your heels as much as possible to give space so that your buttocks can sit between your feet. Some of us may stay stuck halfway getting down, feeling the stretch in the outside of their hips. So take your time. You can use blocks here too underneath your buttocks. Some of us may go all the way down and find a seated position here in Gomukhasana, cow face. Try to make sure that the heels are further up towards the knees and towards the hips. You don't want to be crushing your heels. So once you set yourself up and your spine is nice and tall, you'll inhale, raise your arms up, and it'll be your left arm that goes behind your head and the right arm bends from below. If you cannot reach your hands, no problem, use a sock or a strap, or you can, if you don't have any of those, you can cradle your head and just press your lower hand onto the back. You can forward fold as well here if you want to take it further, but just whatever you do, make sure you're not pulling on that right arm up, but you're more letting that left arm slide down, opening up the elbow backwards, and make sure the head is straight. Next inhalation, we'll stretch both arms up, and we'll come back into that funky tabletop with crossed legs. And then we'll also here exhale and come back into our downward facing dog. Uncross your legs, regular downward facing dog. Take a breath. And rivet into a plank position, activating every part of your spine. Lower down into your chaturanga. Inhale here into your upward facing dog. If you feel like keeping Sphinx, you can. If you want to take it further, you can follow me. And the next exhalation will come back into a downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And this time left leg crosses over the right. The right foot then takes the same spot. Come down onto your tabletop position, cross legs as you exhale. And slowly scooch back your hips. It's totally fine if you cannot sit down between your heels. You can stay there for 5-10 breaths, and you'll see that in a couple of weeks, things will start to give. Make sure that your core is engaged and arching your back if you're doing that. But if you can sit, go for it. Make sure your heels give some space to your buttocks. Next inhalation, arms are up, and it'll be your right arm that gets bent from above and the left from below. Make sure that you're not arching your back too much, that you're not pulling on that lower arm, and making sure that your ribs aren't flaring out. So it's kind of checking. You sort of scooch the head back, check in the ribs, and make sure that your right elbow is going backwards and you're not pulling too much on that left hand. And one day your fingers will meet and you'll be able to hook them. If you want to forward fold, you can forward fold here. If you don't feel like this is part of your practice, that's totally fine. Wherever you are, take a few more breaths here. Centering yourself, bringing your attention inwards, noticing how things evolve. And remember, the jaws relax, the tongue too. Take a breath here. And then we'll slowly unwind the arms up to the sky. exhale, drop the hands, come into that funky tabletop position, push back into a downward facing dog and uncross your legs. Cool. And here we will work a little bit on our obliques. Getting ready. So next inhalation, you're going to raise that right leg up and exhale, bend right knee to left elbow. Push through the ball of your left foot to help you. And then you'll hold it here and inhale back up. Try to go slow as you can, as calmly as you can. Exhale again. We'll do that again. Right knee, left elbow. Lean forward as much as you can. Inhale up. And we'll do that again. Exhale. Right knee, left elbow. Don't try to press onto that elbow, but hold it. And maybe some of us will go into fallen triangle or stretch out that right leg, drop it down on the floor, and open up our left arm to the sky. Feeling a full expansion, pressure in both of your feet to open up the whole side body. You can gaze down at your right hand or up to the left. Either way, we'll come back, exhale, all the way back into a three-legged downward facing dog, right leg lifted, and drop that right foot between your hands. And we'll just walk our hands over to the left side and come into a straddle pose. Make sure your toes are pointed inwards. The legs ideally are straight, but if that's not the case, that's okay. You can always use a block. And make sure that the weight is in the toes and not in the heels. The back is flat. Hands are below your face. Some of us may stay here, and that's plenty, and that's great. Others may go a little bit further and see if they can't stretch out their arms further in front, or maybe even go down on their elbows. Either way, the back is flat. The weight is in the toes, but the hips are pushing backwards. If you want to take a funky down dog here, you can by walking your hands even further out past your mat. And your back will look like a down dog even though your legs are wide apart. Interesting sensation. If you're somebody who has a headstand practice, this is where you can scooch down and get nestled in here, making sure you're nice and stable, and try to see if you can lift up those both legs, inhaling without bending the knees too much, and come up into a headstand, Shirasasana. If you're staying in headstand, take a few breaths here, fix your eyes, it's a balancing pose, engage the core, squeeze your ankles, and if you've taken lift off, we'll slowly come back down. We'll all meet again in a straddle pose. Make sure that your toes are still pointing inwards, the back is still flat. Maybe you have to adjust your feet, opening them up or shortening them. Next, inhale, hands on the hips, and we'll rise all the way up. Heart leads the way, all the way to standing. And here we'll interlock our fingers. Our feet are still spread apart, but we'll just point the right toes outwards and see, can we kiss our right knee with our arms interlocked behind our head, and maybe the arms come up away from our back. Inhale, back up, pivot the feet, and same thing on the left side, pivot outwards the toes. Exhale, bend forward, bending the knee and kissing your knee. Inhale up, and we'll repeat that. Keep going, pointing out. If you want the more advanced version, you do this without bending that right knee and trying to lean onto it. You inhale to come back up, and you pivot to the other side. So either way, knee bent or knee straight, it's your call, whatever fits you this evening. Inhale, back up, and both feet now are parallel. Release the hands, and we'll come into Warrior Two. Make sure in your Warrior Two that there is just enough weight in your back left straight leg than there is in the right bent knee. Gaze through the middle finger of your right hand. Drop the tailbone down. Engage the toes. That helps a lot. Wake up the legs rather than parking yourself in the pose. And we'll inhale, arms up to the sky, and we'll do some eagle arms here. So bend both of your elbows, cross over left elbow on top of right, and see if you can't hold your thumb or interlock your fingers. Lift up the elbows, or loosen away the hands, and we'll bow down into a humble warrior. Remember, you're still pushing into that back left leg like crazy in order to find that length. Some of us may go even further down and have their shoulder in the same alignment as their right knee, but that's totally fine. If you're not there, that's okay. The idea is that you're feeling the stretch and the opening in the back of your shoulder blades. Next inhalation will open up the arms. You can either have that right elbow on your right thigh. Some of us may touch the floor, and you're gazing up at your left hand. Unless your neck really doesn't like that, you can look at the floor. You're still pressing with tons of energy into that back left leg. And then as you exhale, we'll lower both arms down. We'll come into a lizard pose here. In our lizard pose, make sure your back is flat. So keep the arms straight if that means your back is flat, rather than trying to lower down to the floor and compromising on your spine. If it is accessible, you can slowly, progressively, one elbow at a time, go down. But again, no rounded back. Don't look at your chin or tucking it in. Try to look past your mat to keep that length in the spine. And you're releasing all the tension in the pelvis, pressing to the right foot. Some of us may take it one step further. If you're somebody with a right shoulder that can rest underneath the right knee, go for it. Lift off that right foot, lift off that left knee, and have fun with that. If that is not in your practice, that's totally fine either. You can also, if you're almost there, there's another little trick, is you just hold your right ankle with both your hands, and one day that right shoulder will hug nicely underneath your right knee. Wherever you are, take a few breaths. And then the next inhalation, we'll stretch up our arms and we'll meet back in a downward facing dog at our own time. In your downward facing dog, come into plank position, lower down all the way to the floor. And here we'll come into a sphinx pose again. Relax the buttocks, let the whole pelvis rest. And then as you exhale, come back into downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Fan the fingers, hips to the sky. And this time, we're going to let our left leg go up to the sky. Again, our oblique work. Exhale, left knee, right elbow. And we'll hold and hover. So try to go slow as you can, leaning forward, point the toes. Inhale, lift up, left leg up. Exhale, left knee, right elbow. Inhale. All the way up, slowly. Exhale, left knee, right elbow. Hold it, hover, either there or go into a fallen triangle. Stretch out that left leg. Maybe you put it down and stretch completely fully, gazing up at your right arm. Either way, finding a stretch here. You can look at your right hand or down on the floor towards your left thumb. We'll all meet in downward facing dog, maybe with that left leg lifted. Inhale. And come into plank position, lower down. And inhale here into upward facing dog. If it's not in your practice, if it really doesn't feel right for you, just stay in the Sphinx. That's totally fine. We'll all meet back in a downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And we'll lift that left leg up into the sky and bring it all the way between our hands. We'll walk our hands towards the right this time. And we'll come into a straddle pose, second series. Check in on your toes, check in on your back. The weight is distributed in your toes. And maybe you have to squish your feet in a little bit more. And this time, actually, we'll tuck in our heels and lift up our toes and come into temple pose, goddess squats. Index into the thumb in both hands, if you like. Your elbows are bent 90 degrees, and we'll exhale, cross in front of your face and release and touch your thighs. So do that again. Inhale, cross in front of your face and touch your thighs. Cross again in front of your face and separate over your head. So you inhale to open up the arms. You're exhaling, crossing and releasing. Inhale, open. Exhale, cross in front of your chest and touch your thighs. Inhale, cross and open your arms. Keep going. And then we'll rest here with our elbows on our thighs, pushing the hips back. Back is flat. Some of us may even hold our ankles. That's totally fine. If it's not in your practice, that's okay. But feel a nice deep stretch. And core is super engaged here. You don't want to collapse into your spine. And then we'll straighten out our legs in the next inhalation and come into a straddle forward fold. Maybe you hold your ankles, maybe you don't. Maybe this is too intense. Maybe you go back onto your head again for another headstand. That's totally fine. But just release the tension. Enjoy this inversion where your heart is higher than your head. Next inhalation will come all the way back up, and this time warrior two on the left side. Your arms. Remember, equal weight on that back right foot as well as that left foot. Lifting up the toes too can help. That allows you to not park into the pose. And remember, have a little gaze at your left toes. If you cannot see them, means that your knee is well adjusted. And we'll inhale here, raise the arms up, eagle arms again. So this time it's your right arm that crosses over the left. Grab hold of your fingers or your thumb. And we will try and lower down to a humble warrior here again on the second side. Some of us may just stop at the knee. Others may go even further down where the shoulder rests underneath the knee. That's really your call. But remember that it's more about the integrity of the position. It's about engaging in that midline. And then the next inhalation, you can come into a side angle warrior two. It may be that you have that left elbow resting on your thigh, or you've got that left hand down on the floor and you're gazing up at your right hand. Pressing actively into that back leg. Remember, we always have one side a little bit funkier and stiffer than the other, so it's normal you don't get the same results. Lower down that right hand, we'll come into lizard pose. So both hands on the inside of your left foot. Right knee is lower down. Your back is flat, lengthened. Some of us may go down on our forearms. Remember, if you're going on your forearms, to look past the mat to really try and flatten that back, and then be mindful of your neck. And we'll simmer here for a while. I'm just showing you face forward so you have an idea. Some of us may be able to even get that left shoulder underneath the left knee, and maybe even try to get that foot to lift off. If it doesn't happen right away, you can just keep holding your ankle, lifting up that back right knee. Others may even go further, and you're supporting in that back right leg as well. Comes up, and you come into a up dog, and you do an extra chaturanga. That's really the advanced version. If not, if you're still in lizard, stay in lizard. That's totally fine. Either way, those who did go into chaturanga, come back and meet us in our lizard pose. And then we'll all find our way slowly back. After a couple of breaths here, lift up that right knee, and we're back into downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Notice how things have changed and evolved and lengthened and spaced out. Remember your 10 fingers. Keep engaging actively through your hands and through your feet. Relax the jaw and connect with your rib cage as well. The bottom of your next exhalation, jump forward, and we'll meet on our buttocks. And we'll come straight into a quick boat pose here with all sorts of variations. So you can have the knees bent, arms released or arms on your knees. And then in the next inhalation, grab hold of your toes. Some of you may be able to stretch the legs out, some of you may not. That's okay. But the shoulders stay down, the elbows are slightly bent downwards, the spine is flat. To really get that sensation of finding your sitting bones. There's an active tension between your hands and your feet as well to maintain the balance. And slowly one day the legs will come closer and closer to your face. Don't force it, no jerking. It's really lifting to the crown. Next inhalation, we'll release our toes and come into a boat pose, Nokasana. Take a deep breath here, and then cross your ankles, hold your knees, and we'll roll back onto our spine on the floor. And slowly, when you're ready, stretch out those legs. Make sure you have enough space above your head for the next part. So your legs are straight here. And adjust your legs slightly. You can even have them bent. But the most part is the back is flat, so some of us may have to lower our legs towards the wall. And when you're ready, the next inhalation gets you all the way up into a shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. Support your back in the beginning, get your bearings. And then once you've found your bearings, you can release your hands and lock your fingers and pressing your hands down into the floor if that's part of your practice. If not, hands resting on your lower back is totally fine. Finding length and lift. Make sure there's no weight in the back of your neck, only in the back of your head and on the shoulders. And then very slowly as you exhale, we'll lower down into Halabhasana, plow pose. In our plow pose here, you can experiment pointing the toes or flexing them. Make sure the back is nice and straight. You can bend your hands and hold your spine to make sure. And if some of us have it in their practice to bend one knee next to the ear, and if it feels comfortable and the foot can rest, bend the other knee. In your Yogi Mudrasana, preparation for it at least, until one day those calves will go behind your head. And you can wrap your arms around your legs, taking a few breaths here, really connecting. It's almost like a fetal pose, but upside down. And once it's mastered, it's very comfortable actually and comforting. We'll inhale, lift up the knees, stretch them out. You're in plow pose. Have a breath here, support your back, and then inhale, zip out those legs, both legs straight up in the air, back into shoulder stand. Inhale here. Keep lengthening, trying to find lift, and then we'll come into Vripratikarani, the Kriya version, where your hands become like a shelf for your lower back. Your knees can be bent, and you see if you can't arch the back just a little bit. Some of us can straighten the legs as well. Depends on the flexibility in your wrists. Some of us may be able to release even more weight into our hands from our hips, and some of us may not. That's okay. And then we'll slowly exit the pose by sliding our hands back side of our legs, maybe our calves, maybe our thighs, and slowly come out of the pose. Some may even hold their feet here. It's like a Paschimottanasana upside down, like a forward fold. And find that spot on your spine where it feels really good to just release. And legs are still zipped, and we'll slowly release them down. Knees are bent, feet on the floor. Take a minute here. Connect to your breath, connect to the floor. And the next inhalation, we'll do a counter pose here, Setu Bandhasana. Lift up the pelvis. Make sure that the fingers are in line with the heels. Press actively into your shoulders. Support your glutes if you need to by bending the elbows and holding your lower back, or press firmly from your feet, shoulders, and the back of your head. No pressure on the throat. Some of us may interlock our fingers underneath us and stretch out the arms, adding pressure to the floor, and we may even lift up our heels to add a little bit more intensity if that feels good for our bodies. We'll then exhale, lower down very gently onto the floor. Connect the whole spine to the floor, tuck in the knees, give yourself a little hug, and then we'll release just the left leg and keep the right knee in our chest. Give your right knee a kiss, lift up the head, stretch the left foot. Both feet are flexed. Maybe your left foot will come off the ground a little bit. That's okay, that's normal. It's to do with your hips. Maybe you prefer even having that left knee bent so that the foot is on the floor. Your call. Those are all options. Take whatever works best for you. Some of you may even be able to grab hold of the foot now and bring that foot with both of your hands towards your forehead. A little bit more intense. So that means that the right knee is going outside of the right armpit. And some of you may even go and scooch that right knee behind that right shoulder and come into Ardha Yogi Nadrasana. You can either have that left leg stretched or bent. And once it's mastered, it feels quite comfortable. You may eventually as well be able to release that right foot. Some days you can, some days you can't. And when you exhale, release everything slowly to the floor. Take a minute, reset, connecting to your breath. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So you'll exhale and bring the left knee into your chest. Give a kiss to your left knee, right leg straight or bent. Again, same modifications. Your call. And really tucking in that knee as far as you can. And see if maybe now can we hold on to our foot, bring it to our forehead, to our third eye. Check if we need a pedicure. And again, give it a try. We always have one side a little more funky than the other. So maybe this side is more cooperative or less cooperative, depends on your person, where you can get that left shoulder over the left knee. And again, that right leg can either be straight or bent. Your call. But it should be very comfortable. If it's not, please come out of the pose. Never force, never rush. We'll exhale, release both of our legs to the floor. Stretch them out. Connect to your breath, your pelvic floor, your pelvic bowl. Or you can have one hand on your heart and one on your belly and just really connect to that breath as much as you can. The eyes are closing, coming to the end of our lesson. And here we'll do one last twist. You can bring in that right knee one more time into your chest. Grab hold of it though with your left hand. Right arm is at the shoulder height on the floor, and we'll cross that right knee over the body. It's more about the shoulder staying down, that right shoulder staying down, than actually the left knee touching the floor. That will come in due course. But you're rinsing out your nervous system. Maybe you apply pressure with your left hand onto your hip. Taking a breath here. And then inhale, come back to center. Release the right knee and take the left, and same thing on the other side. So right hand grabs hold of the left knee. Left arm is on the floor. And it's the shoulder that's staying down as much as possible, while the left knee crosses the body. And if it touches the floor, okay. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. If you know any other variation, something more intense, go for it. And if you've had enough and you're just ready to just be and relax, you don't have to do these. But spinal twists are very beneficial. Rinsing out the whole nervous system. It's like rinsing out laundry. Come back onto your backs. Straighten out the legs. Take a breath here. And if you prefer Supta Baddha Konasana, you can also do that. That's another option. If you feel like your knees bent and conked towards each other, it allows you to have more of a flat back because you don't have any props. That's one way to do it. Supta Baddha Konasana is when you spread the knees open, but the soles of your feet are together, and that could also feel quite good. It depends on the anatomy of our pelvis. Depends on childbearing. And just relax here.